Once they have decided to work with you, it's time, like rate negotiation, which is what agents are for, but in the beginning you'll be doing it yourself. It's awkward. For some of my consultancies that I've negotiated by myself, a couple of things, because it's like either before I had an agent, I had like some smaller consultancies, and then after I did some other things. But the great thing about agents is that they make us look like, even though we're not just artists, they have us be the artists, so we don't have to be the bad guy necessarily. Right? So that's what I love, because my agent, he'll go in there like, being like, she doesn't work for less than this. Like, sorry. And it's really awkward for me to have that conversation with them, like in a meeting, but Kale, my agent, can have it, and he has no problems having it, that conversation. And it's great. And I mean, he doesn't leave people offended. They still feel taken care of. They understand why I cost that much. All that kind of good stuff. So that's the great, like when you can get an agent, even an agent who's not as well known, a lot of them, it's just better to have that neutral person negotiating for you. But what I found is it's really important, because agents aren't us, right? Agents specialize in being agents. We have to work with them really closely on wardrobe budgets and estimations. Because it can make or break, like the example I gave earlier, it's like I underestimated by 10 grand how to do this job, and it was just a huge disaster, and I had to go back and be like, oh my God, I totally messed up, and and I can't get you guys what you want. And so being in really close communication with your agent while you're negotiating your wardrobe is so important. Because we get a wardrobe budget, and that's just, it gives you when people have a bigger wardrobe, you have so much more availability to bring them choice or to bring them quality, and you gotta be really clear about which one they want. And I've shot for like bigger stores. Like the first time I shot for Target, I brought in Issey Miyake. I brought in all of these over-the-top, like vintage, because we were doing kind of a vintage swimsuit thing, and that's when I had like a swimsuit made because I couldn't find one, and I brought in all these like shishi brands, like everything's super high scale, and they're like, Sally, it's Target. They're like, we can't shoot it. It like looks too nice. And I just started laughing, and I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, it needs to look like something that's in our store. I was like, oh, but they didn't, it's like, I didn't know, like I didn't have the background to know to ask that question. I just thought like, the chicer and more expensive looking, the better, right? Always. And they were like, no. So like being appropriate, it's like, it's another thing that you have to take into consideration. It's one of the questions I ask. It's like, okay, do you want it to look like Marc Jacobs, Mark by Mark, or American Apparel? It's like you've got to know where people's price points are, and the better the art director, the more they know the demographic that they're selling to, the more that they're going to know. They have all that information. They do pages and pages and pages of reports on it about their demographics for all these different huge clients. So, and that helps us, right? Like, if you're shopping for a teenage girl who has, who spends $10,000 a year on clothes, it's so different than if you're shopping for a woman in her 50s who spends $100 a season on clothes. You're going to completely shop two different things. So it's, you got to get really clear about who you're shopping for with the creative brief. And then when you're negotiating the wardrobe expenses, you want to really get how many models do you have, how many shots, all that kind of stuff, because that affects the wardrobe budget beyond. Like you can't even make any wardrobe budget estimates until you have those numbers. Like until you know how many models and how many shots, and what price point of clothing they're expecting.